Are you into watching short films? Are you into making short films? Have you always wanted to make a short film? Well, if you have, you're in luck. Today, we will spend the next hour or so in a roundtable discussion talking about all things short films. I'm Jay Haynes for the Film Sensei channel, and today we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch TV. And I have a couple of guests here. We're going to be talking about short films, but before I introduce them or have them introduce themselves, let me give you an easy win question, and that is, what is your favorite short film? I want to know. I'm a huge fan of short films. I love to watch short films. I love to make short films. And I know I've seen a lot of short films out there, but I want to know what your favorite short film is. Put them in the chat. Because I want to go back and watch this and start taking notes and go and watch those short films that are recommended by you. So without further ado, let's talk to our guests, starting with Al. It is great to have you, sir. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am here in the marvelous Motor City, where we get all 4 seasons before lunch. I've been mucking about with films since film. I have a degree in film from one of our local universities here, Wayne State University. I didn't get the final degree until 2012, so it took me a while to get around and back and there and hither, thither, and yon, but I used to work a lot of different places. I worked in broadcast radio. I worked in government. I worked for the post office. And you can spell that. And you can spell that however you like: AWFUL or OFFAL. Your choice. I'm still working on making films. It's a lot easier with the digital stuff, but I do kind of miss the smell of a hot splicer.
Back in the day. Well, it is a pleasure to have you, sir. I really appreciate it. And Chris, I am delighted that you're here. It's early morning where you're at. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name's Chris. I've got the channel Solo Samurai. So I'm from Australia. And yes, it's 5:30 a.m. So it is a little early, but that's all right. So yeah, basically I've got a bunch of different YouTube channels. I've been making short films since I was probably 5, since my parents had the old big VHS camera, which I keep here as a memory. So yeah, always been making videos, all kinds of short films, and that's had a big interest in visual effects, and that's what led me to YouTube. Started doing food videos just as an excuse to come up with trying to do different visual effects and test my editing and all that kind of stuff. And now, yeah, I've got Solo Samurai, which I'm trying to make proper story short films and things like that.
Outstanding, man. It's great to have you both. Again, let me give you my easy win question, everybody. What is your favorite short film? Would love for you to let me know what your favorite short film is. Let's take a look here and see. After Things says, I really enjoyed the short film version of Cargo. I have never seen that. So I'm going to write that one down. Martin says, Darth Maul Apprentice. That I've seen, and that is great. That is a fantastic film.
Definitely really well made.
Oh, yeah. Killer Bean wasn't too shabby. Have not seen that. That's great. Do you have a short film that's your favorite short film? Put it in the chat. Would love to know what your recommendation is for your favorite short film, or a short film that you would recommend that somebody watch that you thought was really, really good. So Al, what was the very first short film you ever made?
The very first short film I ever made was for my first film class back in '74. It was called At Home with Doc, or Home Surgery in One Easy Lesson.
Let me get
Yeah, that's pretty much how I roll. Because we had to. It was a class assignment. We had to make a film demonstrating something and put it on film. So I said, okay. I had a guy, one of my running buddies at the time, had a large scar on his breastbone from where he had to have a tumor removed when he was very much younger. So we had 3 guys plus me on the camera, and these 2 guys were doing surgeons, and the 3rd guy was on the table. I used fluorescent red paint for to make the blood on it, and to cut them open, we had like a 2-pound maul,
Okay.
and a cold chisel. That's what I could get there. Tap, tap, tap.
Hope he survived the short film.
Well, he actually had the finger under the cold chisel, but you couldn't see that.
Right.
And the anesthetic bottle was an empty pint bottle of Jim Beam bourbon filled with water on a portable shower hose held over his mouth, and he was and then so he went with the 2-pound maul, and it was basically one roll of film, 50 foot, so it was about 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Was that like a Super 8 or a 16?
Yeah, Super 8 50 footer.
Super 8? Yeah. Yeah.
And then after that, I did one which was in Super 8 black and white, which was hard to find even then.
Yeah.
I had to order it. I lived in Baltimore. I had to order it from a place in Washington, D.C., and then to get it processed, I had to send it back to them.
Yeah.
It was, I had one of my friends coming in with a long leather trench coat with the pockets had ripped out on the inside. So we had an 8-pack of Tall Boys, the 16-ounce beer cans.
Yeah.
Stuck down in the coat, and he comes wirbling in and goes to the table, and he starts pulling them out of the pocket, and out of the pocket, and out of the pocket, and out of the pocket. And he's acting blitzed, and then also I cut to a shot where they're stacked in a pyramid.
Okay.
And it was sort of I called it pyramid. It was sort of an homage to a Charlie Chaplin short.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then I did a Star Trek fan film after that.
Oh, nice.
That was let me see, about 150 foot, so that's roughly 10 minutes.
Sure.
Roughly 10 minutes. And I was not only on the camera, but I was in the film as well. My one cousin George was in visiting from Missouri, and I had him in it. My mother put up with me using white T-shirts and dye to make the colors of the shirts, and took pieces of tin foil on cardboard and painted the insignia on them and stuck them on with duct tape.
Right.
And my cousin George, who was more advanced at martial arts, he'd brought his nunchucks along.
Oh, nice. There you go.
And so
Start
he's
taking nunchucks. That's the way to go.
yeah. Since he was playing Mr. Sulu, that was not a
There you
stretch.
go. Yeah, yeah.
That's got to come in handy, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, so Chris, what's the very first short film you ever made?
Okay, so like I said, I was making stuff from probably the time I was really young, but probably
Yeah.
the first short film with a story is now everything I kind of made at that age, when you're talking 6 or 7, you're just basically using stuff you have around.
Right.
So I was kind of inspired, I guess, by the Twilight Zone at that time. And the film, for some reason, was a short called The Mexican Kid. Why? Because we had a big Mexican type sombrero hat. And
Oh,
basically,
okay.
it's about a kid watching Westerns. They get sucked into the TV, ends up in this Western world, and goes on an adventure. Pretty bad, drag the whole family into it, all that kind of stuff. And like none of the locations, it's just filmed at home and all that. It's pretty bad. But I suppose for me, it's every Christmas, it was like trying to make another short film to show the family.
Right.
So that was the kind of thing. Every year there'd be some other kind of short, be dragging my mum into it. And then as I got older, my cousins, we started to try and make martial arts films, all that sort of stuff. So that became kind of the pattern, very inspired by whatever I was interested in at the time.
And what medium
Star Wars, Mortal Kombat.
did you use? Did you use videotape or?
Yeah, VHS.
Yeah.
That big camera I kind of showed before. So that was the main
Right.
source for a long time, and then moved on to the little digital DVs as it got older.
Right. Yeah. When I was young, I made claymation films with a
Yes.
regular 8mm film camera that my dad had. So that was my introduction, making little short films, kind of a thing. So let me see here. Let me go to this. What is your favorite short film genre? If you had a choice to watch a short film of any genre, what would it be? Al?
Well, I tend to gravitate toward science fiction, fantasy, but I always look for spicing it up with some humor, some reversed expectations. Like you think it's going along this way, and all of a sudden it goes. Blink!
Yeah.
Yeah, like my favorite short film to watch. I've thought about it for a while and keeps coming up number 1, Hardware Wars.
Hardware Wars.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye.
That's exactly right. I love that.
Yeah, that's a true classic, that one.
It is. It's like the
Closet Encounters of the Nerd kind.
Yeah. Where the mailboxes are singing. They're like puppets. I loved those as a kid, or really as a teenager. And Hardware Wars was like the first Star Wars fan film, that had ever been made. And it started something that was, that even today still goes on in terms of Star Wars fan films. It's great. Chris, what's your favorite genre? What's your favorite?
Gotta say, probably sci-fi.
Sci-fi,
especially the ones that kind of had that like mystery and you just don't know, like that twist at the end. And you see a lot of those on that channel Dust.
Yes, that's a great place to go. Sci-fi short.
They're a pretty good aggregator, from what I understand. A couple of people I know have films up on Dust, like Anthony Ferraro does Create Sci-Fi. He's got his film Erringer up there, and he's got his Mandalorian fan film. He's doing his behind-the-scenes stuff right now. He built Mandalorian armor. He built a sawed-off Mandalorian disruptor. He built the whole armor. He built the makeup for Twi'lek.
Right.
And he's it's currently George Pal's, Puppetoons.
Yep.
Yes. Hi, honey.
That's your better half.
It's my better 3/4, actually.
There you go.
Yeah. But George Pal's Puppetoons are wonderful. The Puppetoon shorts, and then the Puppetoon sequences, like in Tom Thumb, when he did Tom Thumb with Russ Tamblyn. And I mean, it's a lot of work, because you have changing out heads and bodies for each frame of film, and having to plan it out exactly, and using animation guides and all that. But the results are well worth it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's funny, Jay. Before you said you started doing claymation, I was kind of the same as well. And on this actual camera, it's got like a little button on here that says like 1 second or something, kind of frame grab. And if you ever see my early animations, like, it's like because there's not one frame, it's 1 second before the move.
Yeah.
And
that was one
really
of the. Yeah.
Thanks, Martin.
That was one of the. Hey, good on you, Martin. That was one of the advantages I always saw as film as opposed to video. Before I got a video camera, I was always saying, I'm confident enough where I don't need to see it right away. But you can do blip, blip, one frame.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. It's but I do like the fact that I can pull the media out of what I'm shooting in, get it into the computer, and watch it fairly soon.
Yeah,
that's always good. But
and now with DSLRs and all that, you can go back and probably do proper claymation, and which I haven't tried again since the disaster days of using the VHS. And with that, like occasionally, it would actually, like that button was never exactly 1 second. So occasionally the animation would look really good, and then it would just go back to very, slow and not in sync. So
yeah.
But I made hours of stop motion claymation film back when I was younger. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Funny you can do that when you're young and you have a lot of time on your hands, and then as you get older, all of a sudden you don't have that same amount of time. You're like, I ain't got time to do this. Are you kidding? This takes forever.
Yeah, but now we got like better tech to actually do it, and it's just not a thing to do.
Yeah, to be a kid today with the kind of technology that you have today would just be like a dream. I mean, given what we used to have to deal with, whether it's film like I dealt with and Al, or old videotape, But the real benefit is for today is you can do tests. You can actually practice something and see if you could actually get it to work before you commit it, to really doing it. That's
like,
exactly.
Like a lot of the special effects I did back in the film days, to have like for my Star Trek film, to have the USS Enterprise going across the screen, where we hung a model.
Right.
I still have one, but this was the first model, the first version model that had the battery lights in it, where it had the nacelle lights and the dome lights in the saucer, and we hung it up on black threads from my basement rafters.
Yep.
And we had a black long sheet of paper that we painted, sort of splatter method. We painted Starfield on it, and we'd roll it behind the thing.
Yeah,
and just film it.
It's a rear projection kind of deal, right?
This was live, so if you screwed up, I still have a piece of outtake somewhere where we weren't rolling the screen. weren't rolling the scroll at the same time, and it went up, and you saw the cinder block wall behind
Yeah.
the scroll.
Yeah. It's not, and that was the thing, and then it's like, well, now how do I add lasers? Well, I'll just scratch the film, I mean, with a pin.
Oh, yeah, that's how I did phaser effects, and that's how I did a transporter effect. Took the tip of an X-Acto knife and
Yeah, try not to cut the film.
yeah. Well, I practiced on some scrap before, just to make sure I was getting it right.
Right. Yeah, but still,
my
though,
mother wasn't all that happy that I was doing that on the kitchen table.
If you have any questions in the comments, put them in the comments. We'd love to talk about it. Here's a question: can you take the old films and convert them to digital and edit? Well, back then,
now,
yes.
Well, now, yeah, I can. In fact, I had been starting to do this Star Trek film. I have a machine that'll take the Super 8 and digitize it, and I actually figured out how much I have to speed it up in the editing process to get it to actually look right. I just have to do some more some replacement shots, like my opening titles and some of my effects footage.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be
Al,
more.
how's that? Is that coming across pretty good? Like the quality? Is that being from film?
It's pretty good. It's still a little grainy because it is Super 8. It's got a larger frame size than regular 8, but it is still a little grainy. If I had the wherewithal to do 16 millimeter, it would come out somewhat better because the larger frame size, it minimizes the grain.
Right.
But I'm not willing to spend $9,000 US on a conversion setup.
That's a lot. Yeah. I've recently been trying to got a VHS converter, convert my old short films for my own benefit, but sadly the VHSs are pretty well deteriorated. They're just the tracking is a lot of them are
tracking
a lot
off
of it,
and
that stuff
dropouts.
A lot of it's lost, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, and that's for me the same thing. My old regular 8mm films are all gone. I don't have any idea where they went. So that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I still have a good bit of mine. I want to try to get one of my 16 millimeters converted over if I can scrape together the money, because that was the first 16 millimeter short film I did, and it's a little less than 100 foot, which is let me see, 40 feet a minute, 100 foot, about 3-minute film.
Yeah.
And I'd have to get that converted, and then I have to redo all the titles on that too. But my one actor in it, here's another old running buddy. Wasn't that long after that he went into the Navy, and he retired as a senior chief petty officer, and he's living in Delaware now.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Terry says he used to transfer Super 8 and 16 to VHS for people back in the day, but I paid an outfit to convert mine to digital a few years ago. Got the full frames laser scanned. Yeah, that's
well, if you've got ones that'll do flying spot, which a lot of the telecines do, that's probably the best resultant for it.
So here's a question for you. What do you guys think about fan films?
Well, haven't done a couple. I think as long as you're making sure you don't violate the intellectual property of the film you're being a fan of, like I like what I've seen of Axanar, the Star Trek fan film that CBS Paramount's been trying to stamp out of existence.
Mhm.
But it's sort of a gray area with the IP, with the intellectual property.
Right.
As for me, for what I did, there is no way you could have mistaken my film for Star Trek.
For a real Star Trek film.
Yeah, there was no
Astronaut,
way you could.
that's such a high quality production. I mean, you could see people saying, "Hey, I think this is this real, real Star Trek thing." I mean, it's really, really good quality.
And
Yeah,
there is some amazing short fan films out there that, like Al saying or you're saying, it borders on, is this part of the the real universe of the franchise?
Yeah.
They do great
Yeah,
jobs.
is this
nowadays.
canon or is this not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Love them. Love those fan films. Love those.
Have you guys seen the? I'm going to forget the name of it, but it's a cross between probably Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
I don't
You have a
know.
title?
Let's see if I can remember. I don't know if anyone in the chat remembers it, but basically,
in the chat, put it in there.
Archaeologists, and they discover like a Star Destroyer out in the desert. Like,
I have seen that. I
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm gonna try looking. I'm gonna try looking for it.
Title escapes me, but it's fantastic.
Is it the same guy that did the Kenobi film? I think it's the same guy.
It might be
the Kenobi film.
Which
was
the Kenobi.
Yeah,
that was nicely done.
Yeah, and they also did a Han Solo one too, where he played Han Solo, and both of those are really good. But I know the one you're talking about. It's a cross,
Yeah, it's got a good little twist at the end as well.
It does. Well done. It does. I think that, and especially today with the technology that we have today, fan films are becoming more and more popular, and people are doing more. There's bunches and bunches of them out there of all kinds of qualities and this and that. Aside from like Star Wars, Star Trek, the standard ones. Do you guys have any guilty pleasure fan film genres that you watch?
Well, I love watching.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I love watching some of the ones where they have like two guys coming together in a barren landscape, and they end up doing a martial arts takeoff or martial arts takedown, and they're either doing kendo or they're doing hand to hand, and then very end twist, guy comes on with a blaster and shoots them both down.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably the kind of the sort of same genre, the Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter fan films, which the fan ones, usually don't have too much story. It's just somewhere and they start a fight and whatever, and that's usually really good, especially if they've got some skills there.
You're a big Mortal Kombat fan, though, so
massive.
Yeah. I watched. I like believe it or not, my guilty pleasure is Duke Nukem fan films.
Really?
Every Duke Nukem fan film there is out there.
Yeah, I've only played the game once. No.
All right. After this, I think I'm going to go and watch some of those.
It's a whole universe that you can tell all kinds of stories in, and people do. I also like James Bond. I like James Bond fan films.
Oh yeah, guy I know here was working on that sort of thing. It was what did he call it? It was the name was a pun. But it was a guy who's a retired spy ends up looking for a job, gets a job at the training site headquarters of a secret spy organization, which gets blown up as he's reporting for his first day, and so he's on the run. Jack Uzi. The Adventures of Jack Uzi.
All right, I have to check that out.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of the first proper short film me and my cousin tried to make. It was about a spy that's too lazy to actually do his missions, so he hires these two stoners, convinces them to do his work, and the title for that was called Fried Rice, because all they're happy about is getting enough money to buy fried rice every week.
Right.
And so the concept was he pays them, does nothing, but he was like this James Bond, the martini, and that was probably the first kind of short film that we actually made, and it still wasn't fantastic, but we actually tried to pitch that as a pilot for a TV show to the local TV station here, which didn't happen. But
Didn't happen.
no, unfortunately. But
Why
not? I've seen worse things on the tube.
Me too. Musicals. Have you ever done a musical?
I haven't, but I have hopes. If I can get it together to finish some lyrics and put some music to it, I might consider doing a film, because that would have to be like, my wife and I are both big musical fans. I mean, we've watched just about every MGM musical out there. I mean, I love the Girl Hunt ballet number at the end of Shoba. Oh God, what was that? Fred Astaire, Sid Charisse, Nanette Fabray.
My mom was a huge musical fan, so I've seen them all.
It was,
you know, it doesn't mean I was watching.
Yeah, it's I can't remember, but
so
like
Al, would that be a Star Trek musical or a fan film musical, or just an original?
No, it would. Well, I know people that have done a lot of Star Trek musicals. They did them as live theater events at conventions. They did Poppin' Fresh Trek, Star Trek 4, I think it was, mashed together with Mary Poppins.
Nice.
Yes, just a handful of protons stops dilithium decay, dilithium decay, dilithium decay. Oh, and
Right.
going back in time.
If you had any short film that you could make, what would you make?
Well, you go first.
If you had like real money, like you could raise money and you could come up with something, what would it be?
Okay, that's a good question.
I mean, I'd probably have to make some sort of a Star Wars one for sure, or maybe a Star Trek. How about Kylo Ren fan film someday? How about that?
I reckon, since we're going to say, like, I'll follow you kind of a bit with the fan film idea. If I had real money, I would do a Mortal Kombat fan film.
A Mortal Kombat?
Yeah. I just love, like, I was really inspired by, like, Big Trouble in Little China. I like that mythology and martial arts. I mean, that's one of my favorite films. That's what got me into Mortal Kombat, to be honest.
So I introduced my son to that Big Trouble in Little China, and then he went on to watch all the other Stephen Carpenter or John Carpenter films. I mean, and he loves John Carpenter. He's like, "Oh, this guy's fantastic."
Has he seen Dark Star yet?
No, but I love Dark Star. I saw that in college and was like, "Oh my gosh, this feels fantastic."
Yeah, it's your turn to feed the alien. Why is it always my turn to feed the alien?
Yeah. How about an unsung hero film? That'd be me, the unsung hero, right here, baby. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I know of quite a number of unsung hero stories that I think would work for that sort of thing. I would also like trying to make a silent slapstick comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of the stuff I did before I got video was silent. The Star Trek film was post-dubbed sound and effects
Right.
on a cassette, which wasn't always synchronized.
Yeah. It's like singing in the rain, right? No,
Yeah.
no, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. It was
That's
good and
exactly what
loud.
happened. Yeah, I love old silent films, especially Harold Lloyd. I'm a big Harold Lloyd fan.
Oh, yeah. Harold was truly a craftsman because
Mhm.
they'd sit down, they'd work out the whole scenario, they'd shoot it. If they got an idea on set, they'd work that out and shoot it, and then
Nope.
they'd tune it with previews.
Right.
I think he was one of the first ones to do previews, and then they'd tune it up according to what the preview audience said.
Yep.
Chaplin pretty much wasn't like that, and Buster Keaton could always tell when he looked at it what worked and what didn't.
Right.
So he didn't really need to do a lot of previews. But I'm a Buster Keaton fan. I like Harold Lloyd, but I'm Buster. I'm Team Buster.
He's great because if he messed up something, he would just figure out a way to work it into the movie and just keep it going.
Yeah,
you know?
like the one where he had the board on the top of the roof, and
then he
tried
fell.
to jump over, and it whoops,
Whoops.
and he went through the awning and through another awning and into the station.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, that's old school filmmaking that still happens today,
And trying to make, if you think about trying to make a silent film now, would be completely different to the way you're doing it like a normal film, because you have to think so much more about the story, the actions, to try and get everything across. That'd be a pretty good challenge, I'd say.
Yeah. Well,
especially for today's audiences.
And whether you could use titles or not, if you could use intertitles, how many would you use? What would you have them say? Where would you put them? That's a whole basically a lost art.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is a visual medium, and a lot of times films they'll sit down and have a conversation to explain everything where they could have done it by showing it.
Yes, like the character in the Austin Powers film, Sir Basil Exposition.
Yeah, Sir Basil Exposition, Mr. Exposition. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I think that Alfred Hitchcock was so good at making films is because he started in silent films and he understood how to show something whenever it was possible, rather than just sit and explain it. I think that's
and it's kind of funny from like where we come, like short films, films, silent ones. And then you had like George Lucas, who would always be saying sound's 50% of a film.
Right.
So you kind of completely changed as we went on. And so it is a lost art, like you were saying.
Well, that was what grew out of his experience at USC. I was there for a little while, very little. But they had their sound mixing area was a Quonset hut in the middle of a what would be a courtyard in one of the buildings, and you could hear people's mixes when you walked by the Quonset hut. And he was always, you got to have a good sound to draw people in. He was always wanted to get the better mix, to have people step into your screening area to see what you're doing. But,
well, and ultimately I think it's both, but not just dialogue, but sound. Their dialogue is just part of it.
All the incidental sound effects.
I've got to say, probably doing Foley work and stuff like that's one of my favorite, and syncing up all the sound effects. I love doing that stuff with the finished film.
Oh yeah, well, there was a short film about Foley, showing 2 or 3 Foley artists at work, and it was mind-boggling. What they do, like crunching shoes on gravel, using handful of celery for
Yeah.
breaking someone's neck.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Because they
Yeah,
couldn't just break someone's neck.
no,
Now, that would be
that's breaking someone's neck and taking the sound of it. They have to sweeten the sound.
Yeah.
Well,
But, you know,
whatever you hear on screen is definitely not what they're using to record it. And I mean, a friend of mine's making a game for Xbox, and I volunteered to do some Foley, which hasn't worked out because he needed like a sound of a train rushing past, like an electric train. Do you think that's easy to do? Not really. I hear one every day I walk to work, but it's too noisy to actually capture that. And trying to replicate it, it's just so tough.
That
is.
Things like that. Sometimes you got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds on radio. For the Martian cylinder opening, his sound man had a microphone on a cord, went into the restroom at CBS, had a large pickle jar, and went with the microphone up and the pickle jar resonating in the toilet.
There you go. That's it. Well, it's like Ben Burt, you know, doing all the things that he did.
A lot of his. I remember him. He said he'd showing how he did one of the blaster sounds. He took a spud wrench and hit the guy wire for a telephone pole and recorded it with a Nagra.
Right, and it sounds fantastic. I mean, you know,
but sweeten it and mix it.
Yeah, he was talking about, you know, how he was a kid and he would just play around making different sounds, and that's how he, you know, just playing all the time. He was doing that, and that's what happened. You know, it's how he came up with all those things. He said, "Man, I get in trouble because I take a ruler, you know, and I would put it on my desk and go, you know, it sounded like somebody jumping off of a, you know, a diving board or something, you know."
You use whatever tools come to hand,
Exactly.
and whatever you can mind them into.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I think it's a good thing with like short films, especially if you don't have the best camera and all that. As long as the pitch is okay, but your sound effects are better than okay, it kind of makes up for a lower quality image or something as well. I think, you know.
Yeah. Well, and my suggestion would be go out and just do it, you know, do something, you know, because if even if it isn't any good, you're still learning, you know, you're still having fun and you're still learning along the way. Next time you'd be better. Next time you'd be better after that. So what do you guys think of this?
At least do you think making a short film?
Do you think making a short film is a good way to get to a feature film? It's been done.
Yeah, it's been done.
Let's say you have an idea for a feature film. You think it's a good idea to make a short film around that subject and then try to sell that?
Some people have as a proof of concept.
And
then they have that, and they actually have that demo reel to show.
Yep, exactly.
I would probably go a step further to say, if you're doing a short film, it could be hard, because you got to, if you want to turn that into a feature film, for example, you're basically in the short film trying to sum up something in shorter time frame. So it might not be that easy, but I've seen people that do a trailer for a film that doesn't exist to kind of pitch it. I think that might be a bit better way, because otherwise you're taking something that, if you get what I'm saying, like, you know, you need 2 hours normally to explain it, but here's a short version. Well, why do I need to see the full-length version now? You've kind of summed up that in a shorter version. So maybe doing like a trailer.
I've seen a few pretty good short films that you go, man, this is, you know, you could really expand on this and make it into something really special. And that has happened, right? You know, remember Stephen Amell did that film on Stephen Amell and his cousin, Bobby Amell did the film where it was based on, like, what if superheroes were like shunned? You know, the idea was, instead of being, you know, put up on a pedestal and worshipped by everybody and thanked by everybody, what if they were shunned and they were like second-class citizens, you know, and you were trying to hide the fact that you had superpowers instead. and then you get caught, you know, and now you're in trouble with the law and this and that. You're trying to make a normal living, but you know it shows through. And you know they made a short film around that, and then they sold it, and it became a full feature film. And both of them were really, really good. You know, but the short film was a different story, and then the feature film was a much you know concept that expanded on that.
It seems to me that that's about like the way that Mystery Men evolved. It started out with Flaming Carrot Comics, and then expanded out, and then you had the full feature, which is different from the script I downloaded on the internet.
But
the script was interesting. The parts of the feature I saw are interesting.
Well, I think Saw was one of those that was a short film originally.
Is that right?
And then that became a feature length. Yeah, I think that was one of them.
So, I mean, you know, it's doable. Do you think that's a way to get to, you know, a goal that you might have of making a feature film?
Well, I mean, you can put all your effort into it. Like, you might not have the money to do something longer or the time or the resources, but you can condense that, I guess, into something shorter. And because you don't have to spend as much on that, you can condense it and do as best as you can in that shorter time frame. So, yeah, why not?
Sure. I think if you could get enough people behind you, you know, maybe do some sort of a campaign to raise the money and then do the short film and then get a bunch of people writing into the studio saying, hey, we would really like to see this made into a full feature, you know. And there are so many different ways to get out there and you know, get a feature film made now through so many different content providers that it's probably a lot easier now than it would have been even 10 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Frank says, I'm going to do a Trek versus Wars action scene or dogfight. Trek versus Star Wars, I assume that would be that. Hey, that would be cool. And I've seen a few of those, you know, some Battlestar Galactica crossovers and things like that. You know, I saw a really great short film where they had a crossover of, you know, Halo and, you know, all these different video games along with Star Trek and Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica, you know, and it was like this massive crossover, and it was really something. It was very impressive.
Yeah, it'd be really good to see a dogfight like that. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it had the Master Chief at the end saving the day.
Yeah, boy, that was a great film. That was a great little short film. I love watching short films. I just think they're fantastic. You know, I think you could pack so much into a 10-minute time period. You can put a whole story and really make it good. You know.
Yeah, well, 10 minutes is not an unreasonable length. Trying to pack it down into 3 minutes is a little iffy.
Yeah, I find that hard. What is it? Road does that big competition every year where they do the 3-minute. Trying to get a good story into that time it's a real skill to do.
It is. You know, and sometimes you have these 30-second fan films, you know, contest or these, which I've done. And like Production Crate does a 10-second, you know, 10 seconds. What do you got? Dude, that's pretty tough. You know,
10 seconds with special effects and pay attention to the story.
Yeah.
So you basically got 3 seconds for the opening act, 3 seconds for the middle act. And 4 seconds for the end.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It is not easy, but you know, you can tell this whole story in 10 seconds. You know, it ain't going to be much of a story, but you know, you can do it, and it's interesting to see what people come up with. And Production Crate does it every month. They give away, you know, stuff, prizes, and everything. And every month they highlight.
And they change the topic every month.
Yeah. And it's like, here's your topic of the month. You know, it has to have this line in it, or it has to have, you know, it has to have this effect or something like that, you know. What do you guys think about contests, short film contests? You ever enter one? You ever do anyone?
I've entered a few. I've gotten good notes and good notices, but the only time I ever won anything was I was working with some other people, and we were doing a commercial for our science fiction convention, and we did Full Contact Archaeologist Rip Zipley and his sidekick Long Square against the evil doctor.
There's a Lights Out was a Hollywood. It was a short that Hollywood got wind of and asked them to do a full feature film of. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
Chris,
good.
have you ever entered a short film contest?
Yeah, I've entered the Road one and probably a few others. I've entered the FX Home one as well that they had. So yeah, I did for the Road one. I did a couple of films. I entered 2 entries. One was called The Last Drop, and yeah, that was a good
film. I've seen it. That was great. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Is it on your Solo Samurai channel?
Yeah, it is. Well, there's actually a couple of versions. I got a bad habit of once I release a film to go back and re-edit it. And
okay, George Lucas, thanks a lot.
Yeah, well, and the 3 versions, I think.
Yeah,
the 3 versions actually have.
Why don't you go ahead, Chris, first, and then now you can reply.
Okay. I was going to say the 3 versions I actually have on there. I've changed the story. Like one of them's very sci-fi with a holographic watch, and then the next version I removed all of that, and it's just, if you see it's a guy being lost out in the desert kind of thing. The next one is just a guy whose car's broken down. But I just and that was the one I entered in the road competition purely because the first one I made was too long, and all the sci-fi stuff just didn't fit. So I cut that all out and made it just like this guy wandering after his car broke down. So yeah, I do have a bad habit of going in and kind of change it. That's why I like editing. I mean, it's good. You can change the story and come up with something different.
Yeah, for sure. Al, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a saying around. I think it was David Gerald in one of his quotes from the Quote Book of Solomon Short. Take off on the notebooks of Lazarus Long. He says, every artist should have a large man with a mallet behind him to stop him when he's done.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what happens,
It's just, yeah.
Sometimes you can't leave it alone. You got to, man, I could have done it that way, And sometimes you just have to say, all right, this is it. I'm moving on to do something else now,
Yeah.
So what are you guys working on now? If spoilers,
Well, you go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
So at the moment, I am trying to work back on. Before COVID happened, I started to do it was going to be a web series, basically post-apocalyptic, all before COVID. So, and just this person was called Just Me, and he was out there by himself. And eventually the whole plot for this story, I was hoping to do 1 episode a month, and it was basically going to come up in the whole title, Just Me, was the only things that's left are clones of this one person. This is just making use of resources. I'm the only actor, film, and director in it. So I'll play all the clones, all the bad guys, whatever. Then COVID happened and it kind of went on hold. Now I'm looking back at it. I do want to finish that story. So instead of being a web series, I'm going to film it as a short film. So that's the plan for that. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Al?
Well, I have a few things in the pipeline. I have some projects I haven't finished writing yet. And there's a lot of that. And I want to work on a combination science fiction spy comedy bit. And I can't seem to get away from comedy even when I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm like that.
And that one it's a little more nebulous than the other things, but these things take their time, and when it pops out of the mind fully formed like Athena from the forehead of Zeus.
Yep. There it is.
Then all I got to do is write it down.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, you guys know what I'm working on. This all started, it's Chris's fault, actually. Chris's fault right here. It's his fault. It's his fault. Wait, his fault. We're blaming you. Chris, in a chat or in a live stream probably a month ago, said, hey, we should do a collab. That was like the beginning of what happened. And so I said, yeah, hey, we can do that. So I got on the FX Home forums and I made a post out of it and I tagged Chris, but Chris didn't come to the forums. So
I didn't. The tags would go into my junk folder, so I didn't see it for like a week. And when I came back,
so a week later, it had morphed already, and Chris hadn't really responded. So I just kept, going with it. And the next thing you know, we had developed this entire short film collaboration effort among people who are using hit film on the FX Home forums. And it started off as one thing, changed to another and another. And finally, it is essentially a quantum leap parody fan film. Okay, is what it is. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that everybody who is collaborating creates a up to 2-minute long section of basically a 2-minute story of him leaping in and then having this adventure and then leaping out. And then we'll collect all of those 2-minute stories and we will try to put them all in sequential order that makes sense. And we will film bookends, the beginning and the end, to wrap it all up. And so we set a deadline for those 2-minute segments to be in to us by April 15th. April 15th is our deadline. So anybody who's out there and would still like to create a 2-minute segment, you're more than welcome to. But the deadline will be April 15th, which is only a couple and a half weeks away, I think. So, still time, but not a lot left. And 2 minutes a lot of work to do, now it doesn't have to be 2 minutes. It could be anything under 2 minutes. We'd prefer it doesn't go over 2 minutes. If you go a little bit over, that'd be one thing. But if you went 20 minutes, that's going to be too long, right? We're not going to take a 20-minute section. But if you want to be involved in that, Chris and I are going to be working on this because Chris and I are going to chat a little bit after the live stream and see what we can do. And but I think it's going to be real fun. And then I'll post it out and we'll make a premiere out of it and we'll do the whole 9 yards. So that's what I'm working on as far as short film. So at least at this moment. When I say working on, I'm not really doing anything yet, but I will be, soon. And thanks to Mike Miller for, doing the quantum leap special effect. He has recreated the special effect. It looks fantastic. He showed me some examples of the work, and he's going to provide that out to people who want to do it themselves. But he's also going to do all the effects for us in our collaborative short film. We'll do a tutorial on how to do the effect and everything like that. So it's a great project. I think it's going to come out really, really, really well.
Definitely.
So, Frank says notifications on the forums are nuts. I was the first to say yes to Chris's collaboration suggestion of that live stream, but didn't get notified until a few days ago. Yeah, and it was there. I know it's been FX Home has recently changed their forums, and they're still working out some of the bugs on it. So, but
it was funny. By the time I found the forum, it was like 3 pages, and I was just like,
what has happened here? Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
it was quite popular, and a lot of people were very excited about it. So hopefully we'll get some really good entries, and we'll be able to put it together. Chris and I'll talk about it as soon as we're done with this stream. So with that, I'll let you guys give you guys a couple of last minutes words, and Al, I'll let you start.
the important thing is not how well you do it the first time. It's not how much you do it. It's that you do it.
That is some really good advice.
It is. Just get out there and do it. Yeah.
Just do it. Like the Nike commercial says. I love it. All right, Chris,
Okay.
last words.
All right. I'm going to say anyone interested in filmmaking and all that stuff to go and read the book called Rebel Without a Cause by Robert Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh, yeah,
really inspiring
Rodriguez.
book, and how he started his journey as a filmmaker, and basically, just using whatever you have around to get out and film it. And basically what Al just said, just get out there and do it. And yeah, so that's probably a piece of my advice. Get out there and read that book.
Yeah. Rodriguez is a surprisingly good writer if you don't know much about him. And Rebel Without a Crew is probably his masterwork
Without
to
a crew.
date.
Yeah. What a great book that is too. And what he's been able to do, with very little money was just absolutely incredible. And now he's considered one of the best filmmakers in Hollywood.
Yeah. I called it Rebel Without a Cause, Rebel Without a Crew. That was the.
So we
I'm
knew
staring
what
at the book. The book's right on my shelf there. So
we knew what you meant.
Yeah.
If I had a book to recommend, I'd recommend Save the Cat.
Blake Snyder does some good mind tricks, Jedi mind tricks on how to get yourself to write.
Right. Yeah. So excellent.
And
excellent. If you have a book recommendation, what would it be?
Let's see.
So many to choose from.
Story. I can't remember the guy's name.
Story.
Well,
I don't know. I've heard that.
Yeah. It's the guy who does the seminars
on filmmaking,
on writing, writing for film. And then there's also reading some of the behind the scenes book. I got my bookshelves over here that I keep looking for things. You don't really want to read about HTML5 or ActiveX or Dreamweaver.
Yeah, I kind of put you on the spot there, but
Okay, Screenwriter's Bible is good. Dave Trotter.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple of editions of that, and he's generally accepted to be the format authority.
Right.
And I have a couple of Sid Field books, and they're good. Well, you're not going to need Inside Visual C.
No, I won't need that book. I think it'll be all right. Not for filmmaking, anyway.
No.
Well,
but reading some of the behind the scenes books of some of the big movies, like the Lucasfilm books, like the behind the scenes of Empire Strikes Back, or behind the scenes of Return of the Jedi. Oh yeah, you got the. Oh yeah, you've got the art books with the Macquarie stuff in it. Oh, those are wonderful, but they're a little bit out of my price range. I'm talking paperbacks.
Yeah, those are beautiful. Those are beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap it up. I want you guys to know how much I appreciate you both being here. And I have not set for next week what is happening on Live with Sensei. However, the week after that, I have Tom Cowles, who is one of the FX Home VFX artists, coming on, and that will be my season finale for Live with Sensei season 3. And I'll take the break for the summer.
The guy that just did the cyborg.
The cyborg.
Yeah,
that's him. So that'll be 2 weeks from today. And I'll let everybody know as soon as I nail somebody
As soon
down.
as you figure it out, you'll let us figure it out.
That's exactly right. I'll let you guys know. So with that, I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
All righty.
Thanks, man.
Bye.